Here's where God shows up and sees Hagar. See, Hagar had gone her whole life not being seen. She was a woman. She was a slave. She was a foreigner in the household of Abram. She had been mistreated and abused. She was now pregnant, but on the run. See, God sees her, and he gives her two things. Number one, he gives her an instruction followed by a promise. And let's look at it. The instruction. What is it? Verse 9. He says, go back to your mistress and submit to her. Now let me tell you this. This was the last thing Hagar wanted to hear. Go back to your mistress and submit to her? You see, the definition of clarity and roles that Abram was supposed to give, in this moment, God gives. He says, look, I'm going to tell you the order and the rank in the household. You go back and you submit to Sarai. That's the way this is going to work. But he doesn't stop there, because if he stopped there, I imagine if I was Hagar, I would have said, okay, God, whatever you say, I'm still going. There's nothing back there for me. Don't you know how they just mistreated me? Don't you know that they just called me out of my name all kinds of ways? Don't you know what they said to me? But yet God doesn't stop there. He follows the instruction with a promise. He says, I will increase your descendants. In verse 10. This is the same promise that he gave Abram just a few chapters before. The one that he confirmed the chapter right before this. You see, God came and gave a promise to a slave girl who was on the run, had no reason to be qualified for this promise. You see, that's one of the things that's so good about our God. He's not looking for the qualified. He's not looking for those who actually meet some kind of minimum requisite. But he just says, you know what? I'm just going to do this because I choose to. I'm going to come, and those who can respond to what I do, I'm going to give them something that will change the course of their life from this moment forward. And this is what happens with Hagar. I will increase your descendants. God gives her this promise out of nowhere. She wasn't asking for this. She had never imagined that he would do something like this. She just wanted to be treated fairly. She was just trying to survive. And God says, I've got a greater plan for you. I've got a greater purpose, something that you would never imagine, far beyond all you could ask, think, or imagine. That's the kind of God that we serve. And yet he didn't stop with that promise. He continues, and he gives her another promise. Did you see it? He says, you will give birth to a son and name him Ishmael, which means God who hears. Every time you see this son after he's born, it'll be a reminder to you that yes, I do hear your I hear those cries when you're by yourself in the bedroom. I hear when you're all alone and nobody sees you. God who hears. And he follows it up. One final step to this promise. As he starts to tell her about this son, Ishmael, and what he's going to be like. He gives some interesting images here. He'll be a wild donkey of a man. I don't know about you. Donkeys are not something that we elevate as a high animal in our household. We like lions. We like tigers, cheetahs. Let me be one of those things. He says, no, he's going to be a wild donkey of a man. But here's why this was so significant for Hagar, because Hagar was a slave, remember? And what he's promising her is that go back to your mistress, Sarai, submit to her, go back to that position, but I promise you this, your son will not be a slave. He will be wild and free. No man will ever restrict him. I will promise you freedom, not just for him, but every part of descendants that come from him from this point forward. That's a promise that spoke to Hagar in that moment. That encouraged her. That allowed her to go back to her mistress and submit, because she was given a promise that comforted her and transformed her from this moment, from not just a slave girl on the run, but now she returns back to the household of Abram as the mother of a nation. She's the mother of a nation because God gave her that promise. And you see, I want actually want to show you that this continues into the New Testament. Sorry, I almost forgot. Jesus continues this idea of instruction, promise. Instruction, promise. Where do we see it? We see it in Mark chapter 1, verse 17. What does he say when he's calling his disciples? Come, follow me. Instruction, promise. I will make you fishers of men. My instruction is to you, come follow me. My promise, I will make you fishers of men. Let's keep going. We got another one. Matthew 28, 19 and 20. Come on, you know this verse. It says, go and make disciples. Instruction. What's the promise? I will be with you always to the end of the age. You want to see another one? One more. Let's go to Acts chapter 1, verse 4 and 5. He says, instruction, go, let's go. Let me see another verse here. Wait for the gift my Father promised. Instruction, wait for the gift my Father promised. Promise, you will be baptized in the Holy Spirit. Come on, this is instruction, promise. Instruction, promise. God doesn't just give the instruction without the promise, because the promise gives us the identity and purpose we need to walk out the instruction.